Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another night of iRacing action here on the National Racing Network. My name is Patrick Byrd. I'll be commanding the show tonight here at Darlington Raceway with these fantastic Silver Crowns as practice is just starting to conclude. What a fantastic Silver Crown season it has been so far. Really excited to get this one underway. I believe this is the final race of the season. This is week 12, last round until we go into the off week next week, the infamous week 13 here on iRacing. As there is no more time left in practice, Derek Love going to top the charts. Lewandowski quick, Brian Elmore quick, Joe Gauthier, James Watson. A lot of real fast names. Only quarter of a second separating Derek Love from Watson as we get ready to go underway for qualifying. Right now, currently following the car of Derek Love. As he makes his way around the circuit. Derek Love concluding his qualifying run. We'll get you some timing and scoring up here in just a moment. James Watson currently out on track. And he's going to go fourth quick. Derek Love's top time was a 26.391. There we go. So currently, Derek Love quickest on the board. Thomas Lewandowski is going to be second quick. Josh Batista going to be in the third position so far. As he goes out there, currently completing his second lap. That one is going to stand where it is. So he's going to be 81 thousandths of a second slower than Derek Love. Looks like that's everyone. Jeffrey Stanton's still out on the racing surface. He is currently completing his second lap. His first lap was a 27.336, a fair deal slower than the top time of 26.931 of Derek Love. Gets into the wall, gets the Darlington stripe at a turn forward. Second lap's not going to count. Jeffrey Stanton, uncharacteristically, going to start in the final position on the grid in that number 94 machine. So just over a minute and a half remaining in qualifying. Looks like that's the way your order is going to stand. And there we see it. Everybody has qualified, and that's where they sit. So Derek Love going to be your pole sitter with a 26.931. Thomas Lewandowski second quick with a 26.975. We go. On the third position on the inside row will be Josh Batista in the number 8 machine with a 27.012, 81 thousandths of a second slower than Derek Love. Watson going to be in the fourth position, first car to break a tenth of a second behind the pole sitter. Fifth position will have Zach Evans in the number 13 and Brandon Buckberger to his outside in the number 4 machine. Starting in the seventh position will be Laura Gearhart with a 27.115. I believe that is the first car breaking into the 27s. No, maybe not. To her outside will be Colton Tyndall. Row number 5 will have Brian Elmore in the 9th position in the number 9 machine. To his outside will be Matthias Swank in the number 12 car. Starting 11th will be Joe Gauthier in the number 14 car, and Zach Skotnicki to his outside in car number 16. The other Elmore brother, Brent Elmore, will be starting in the 13th position, and to his outside on row number 7 will be Bryant Miller. Row number 8 will have Jason Palmer and Jeffrey Stanton, and finally we'll have Larry Pace pacing the field there in the number 1 machine. Top-rated equipment here, but starting last on the grid, did not make a qualifying attempt here as the field gets ready to go underway. We follow along with Derek Love. Going to be a 73-lap feature here tonight at Darlington. So a fairly short race in terms of the monster long 500-mile events we have here at Darlington, but still not a sprint. Only one set of tires for these guys. They're going to have to conserve them pretty hard and be very delicate on them if they want them to survive here on this hard, abrasive concrete surface. So the field entering turn number 3. You'll get ready to see the pace car start to dive off of turn number 4 there. Huge dive down to the inside over all 17,000 lanes of this track. One of the widest racing tracks in the world, but they only want to use just those top 2 lanes here, and better yet, just the top 1. But the green flag is in the air. Derek Love going to be off and away. Easily takes the first position. Thomas Lewandowski is going to be quick in tow, but not quite close enough to get anything done going into the first corner. Looks like a gap of 2 car lengths separating those 2 cars. Josh Batista there in the 3rd position. Watson looking to the inside in the turn number 3, not able to get anything done there. The top 5 cars starting the breakaway a little bit, and the top 2 have a little bit of a breakaway as well. Lewandowski all over the rear bumper of Derek Love, trying to see if he can get anything done here. This track is so difficult to pass. In stock cars where you can make a little bit of contact, they used to run open wheel cars here. They wanted them to run below that white line on the lower part of the banking, but you're never going to tell a bunch of race car drivers they can't use the fast part of the racetrack. So that's why you see them all move up towards this top side. So, running above that dotted white line, there's not a lot of room to make a move. Brandon Buckberger with the fastest lap of the race, 27.127 so far. Not quite beating the pole times, but they should be getting pretty close towards the end of this one. Brandon Buckberger currently with a bet going on with Chris Graham, the normal commentator here on the Monday night shows. If Buckberger is able to get a win here in any of these events, this being week 12, has to be tonight, Chris Graham will pay, actually I believe Buckberger will pay $50 Driven to Save Lives, charity of Chris Graham's choice. If Buckberger does not win tonight, Chris Graham has to pay $50 to a charity of Brandon's choice. So, either way, money going to a great cause. But hopefully we do want to see Brandon go and get the win here tonight. Been struggling with getting wins probably for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Been fantastic on the ball each and every race, always up there, 2nd or 3rd position, but just not quite able to stand on the top step of the podium. Already working lap number 5 out of 73 in this event. You can see the top 5 are single file, breaking away from the rest of the field. There's a second pack headed by Zach Evans. Oh, and there's contact up at the front. Somehow they keep it all together. You can see a little bit of damage on the number 2 machine of Derek Love, and also on the 20 machine of Josh Batista. Buckberger able to get away cleanly, and Watson is side by side with Derek Love now, coming to turn number 4. That's allowed that second pack to start to catch up a little bit, and Lewandowski to run away just a little bit. 2 Team Watson racing cars at the front, doing very, very well in 1st and 3rd. Good battles going on in that second pack. That's going to be between Laura Gerhardt and Colton Tyndall. Laura Gerhardt getting away into the 6th position pretty cleanly. Looks like Zach Evans and Brent Elmore are going to be fighting side by side. They go back single file. Looks like the 12 car Matthias Swank going to look to the inside of Evans in the turn number 1. Almost contact, and there it was. Evans goes sliding, somehow able to recover the vehicle. Oh man, the other Zach Skotnicki now going to be on the rear bumper. They're going to be side by side coming down the back straightaway. Once again, side by side in the turn number 3. Evans has to check up there on the inside. He's getting passed by everyone there. Zach Evans going to be falling back now to the 12th position. But we have a closer fight going on up front, as that's going to be between Derek Love in the damaged race car and James Watson in the still clean race car, all over the rear fuel tank here of that number 2 machine. And Brandon Buckberger going to be right behind, looking to get in on the action as well, as we approach lap number 10 now of this 73-lap feature event at the Darlington Speedway. This track is not symmetrical either. This track is almost egg-shaped. I believe would be the best shape to describe it. Due to a minnow pond being on what is now the turn 1 and 2 side of the racetrack, when they were originally building the racetrack, they had to tighten the corner as to not disturb a minnow pond because the owner of the pond just didn't want to sell the land. And that gave us the funky shape and funky driving track we have today. So one of the most unique circuits on the Silver Crown calendar, on the NASCAR calendar, whatever they drive it on, it's nuts. The only 2 tracks I can really compare it to is maybe Motegi and maybe Gateway, but Gateway is a lot different between the corners, and Motegi is fast, but still, again, very, very different between the corners. Here, it's a subtle difference, and that subtle difference is what catches so many drivers out and causes them to get their Darlington stripe and hit that wall. These 3 cars still fighting very hard, staying single file, playing pretty nice here, as we are only on lap number 13 now of 73, so still going to be 60 laps remaining. So no reason to push the issue and wreck another race car. And somehow with all the contact we've had in this one, haven't had a caution yet. These guys are usually some of the cleanest guys here on iRacing, and cautions are very rare. We may get 1 or 2 at some of the short tracks, and at some of the short speedways like Darlington, you won't see that caution flag come out at all. Thomas Lewandowski putting over a half a second lead on Derek Love. Gotta wonder if he's burning up his stuff or if he just has that car dialed in so well that he's able to push it that hard and not burn the tires up. These 3 cars still single file as they make their way out of turn number 4. Buckberger's taking a peek to the inside, but not able to get anything done. Doesn't have a run to try and get side-by-side into the corner. Throughout the rest of the field, the battle for 10th position right now is not really a battle at all. Everyone in this part of the field is all single file. Jeffrey Stanton has made his way up from his 16th starting position up to 13th. Just shows how difficult it is to pass cars here. He's one of the top guys in the field, one of the best Silver Crown drivers on the service, and still can't get by these guys. Both of the Zachs getting into each other, though. Zach Skotnicki getting into that outside wall. Zach Evans nowhere to go, runs into the back of him. If we could try and get another look at that incident. Zach Skotnicki just runs up high, slow into the wall. Jeffrey Stanton getting a piece of the action, but unfortunately the car of Evans, kind of the innocent bystander there, not sure how well he's going to be able to continue on. Yeah, that car's crab walking pretty good. So unfortunately going to be very difficult to continue on in that vehicle. Taking a look at that Me Fine machine. Moments before Evans gets into the wall, or excuse me, Skotnicki gets into the wall and just nowhere to go. You can see how much the car was sliding on the brakes trying to avoid having that happen. Just goes up and over. Let's see if we can get an onboard look with his machine. You can see Skotnicki getting up into the wall. You can see the revs dropping. How much slower he's trying to go. On the brakes, just nothing he could do in that moment. And up and over, very violent collision. Once again, at full speed, just moments before impact before he can realize what's going on. But we'll cut back to live. His car is in the pit box, so unfortunately looks like it's going to be the end of the night for Zach Evans. Zach Skotnicki also in the pits there with a very damaged race car. Josh Batista in that number 20 machine. Looks like he's moved all the way back to the 14th position. Not sure what happened to that machine. Maybe he pit, try and get some damage repaired on that crumpled front nose. And we'll jump back up towards the front of the field. James Watson, you notice, running way down on the part of the racetrack they have not been using. Not sure how much of a help it's going to be. Usually the drivers try to do that to cool the tires down, but this concrete surface with the hot South Carolina sun on it, I feel like the track's going to be very, very warm from top to bottom. Not just where the cars are running, but where they're not as well. Lights are still on the iRacing safety car, so going to be another lap we go around under caution. James Watson still trying to just get every advantage he can there on the bottom, trying to cool those tires down. I just really don't think it's going to make enough of a difference here. Maybe cooling them down just a couple degrees, trying to get the jump on Derek Love on the start. That could be my only thinking behind it. These are single file restarts here in the Silver Crown Series. So you're going to see all of the drivers go right to that outside wall the next time they're in 3 and 4, provided the lights go out in the safety car this time. There it is. Looks like the lights are out. So if all of the drivers are going to start making their way up to that very top line, Watson might run this one below the line again. Maybe not. And as they make their way down the backstretch into turns number 3 and 4, all of the drivers be hugging that outside wall. The rules state you can pass to the right side on the restarts, but you cannot pass to the left before the start-finish line. So by parking yourself against that outside wall, unless somebody's driving Spider-Man's car, they can't get up on that catch fence and pass you. Very menacing look at all of these cars coming down the back straightaway. Over 10,000 horsepower of race cars staring right at you. 825 horsepower apiece between each of these Silver Crown machines. That's a whole heck of a lot of horsepower. A lot more than NASCAR Cup cars currently have. But there you have it. All of the drivers up against the outside wall. Lewandowski getting gravity's advantage, coming down off of the wall. As he hits the accelerator, gets the jump, he's going to be a full 0.3 of a second ahead of Derek Love as they cross the line. Buckberger going to be all over James Watson now, coming out of turn number 1. He had a fantastic restart. See if he can carry that momentum. Get side by side with Watson. Nothing yet. Down in turn number 3. Not going to make a move there, as we're approaching about a third of the way through this race already. Buckberger trying everything that he can, trying to get around James Watson. Will follow on board with Buckberger. You can see him trying to run a lower line because you can't really drive through someone, you got to go around him. So he's looking for grip in other places on the racing surface, seeing if he can get something done. Car gets a little squirrely when he gets off the throttle. I feel like that's causing him to lose a little in the mid-corner there. Losing the mid-corner, not gaining a ton down the straightaways, but you can see how much he's picking up on the entry to the corners. Gets right up to Watson. At least he did it last lap. Brian Elmore up to the 5th position. And he's going to be right behind this battle, kind of with a great look at what's going to happen and unfold in front of him, as the whole rest of the field is single file. Jeffrey Stanton breaking his way into the top 10. Next car he has to pass will be the number 1 machine of Larry Pace, highest I-rating driver in the field, but only sitting there in the 9th position. Looks like it might be a donation night here for Larry Pace. Total strength, their fields of tonight's race was a 39.72, so a very large strength of field, larger than any race I think I have ever participated in. Larry Pace going to try and follow the 99 through, passing the number 11 machine of Laura Gerhardt. Jeffrey Stanton going to try and find his way around Gerhardt as well. Looks high, gets a little bit squirrely. Gerhardt gets squirrely as well. I almost think there was contact there, as now there's a little bit of a scrape on the front left quarter of Stanton's car. We have a close battle going on for the 6th position. Side by side between Pace and Miller. Pace gonna get by, so is, looks like Bryant Miller. Excuse me, Bryant Miller is there in the number 99 machine, showing up as the number 10 car on timing and scoring. Stanton able to follow his way through as well. He is gonna be up to the 9th position, as we now have a pass going on for the 7th position between Pace and Tyndall. Excuse me, that is Pace in the 6th position. So a fantastic run. 3 wide down the backstretch. Stanton has to take huge evasive action. But he's able to get himself up to 8th. Bit of a freebie there with that one. And now it's going to be Tyndall in the number 5 that he's going to get by. Side by side down the front straightaway. Oh, and what hard into the outside wall. That's going to be the number 10 car of Brian Miller. No caution for that incident. See if we can see what happened. Going to be the number 15 car. Is there contact? Maybe a little net code. I don't believe there's contact, though. Gets into the wall. Gets a little bit more of a Darlington stripe. I believe Tony Hawk might have done something similar to that sometime in the late 90s. But Tony Hawk is not behind the wheel of that race car, and it is not a skateboard. So Brian Miller going to be down now in the 14th position, making his way down pit road. Surprisingly, no caution for that one. Usually the caution gets thrown anytime someone goes up and over. Take a peek back at the front of the field. Thomas Lewandowski over 0.6 of a second ahead of Derek Love. It is his race to lose at this point as we're nearing the halfway point. Brandon Buckberger able to get by James Watson just a couple laps ago. Now next car he has to try and get is Derek Love. Buckberger and Love had a handful of run-ins earlier in the season and in previous seasons. To see how cooperative Derek is with the move. Derek has to check up to avoid hitting the wall. He's slow. That's going to allow Buckberger by easily. Now all he's got to do is chase down the 3/4 of a second gap to Thomas Lewandowski. Lewandowski bring that up to 0.8 of a second now. I'm not sure even Buckberger can catch him if he wanted to. Gap's still holding at about 0.8 of a second. But we look, James Watson now getting ready to make the move on Derek Love. Looks like the handling of Love's race car has been suffering just a little bit. These two still single file down the back straightaway. This is the battle for the 3rd position, the bottom step on the podium. Watson takes the look to the inside in turn number 3. Decides better of it. Out of turn number 4, they'll still be single file, and it's going to be halfway this time by. Half of the laps done, half of them still need to be completed. So only going to be 37 laps remaining here. As Lewandowski has now brought the gap over Buckberger to almost a full second. And this is your closest battle on track right now, is the one between Derek Love and James Watson. Derek Love now putting a little bit of a gap on James Watson, going to be about a 1/10 and a half between those cars, so about a full car length. Another close battle on track is the one for the 9th position between Laura Gerhardt and Matthias Swank. Not as close as the battle for the 3rd position. In fact, as Swank almost gets into the wall, has to check up even further. This battle is now up to a 1/10 of a second. Now Watson and Love are side by side. Only going to be 33 laps to go this time. Can Watson make the move in the turn number 1? Watson dipping below the banking, makes it stick. Still going to be side by side coming out of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Derek Love's going to have the run, and he's going to pick back up. He's going to have the advantage in turn number 3, but only barely. Watson still on the inside. Going to be a hard-fought battle between these two. I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends in some contact. Love's in the wall, never mind. As Watson is easily able to get by Derek Love, the same way Buckberger got by Derek Love. Definitely battling a tight race car is the number 2 car. Brian Elmore also following through. He's going to be moved up to the 4th position after Derek gets into the wall. So it looks like it's going to be a 5th place finish here for Derek. Gap between Buckberger and Lewandowski is now up to almost 2 seconds between those 2 cars. So Buckberger is going to be really hoping out for a caution here. Try and bunch those 2 cars back together. In fact, he's going to need one at this point if he wants to keep his hopes alive of getting a win this season. So we move back to the battle for 3rd. It's going to be between James Watson, Brian Elmore, and Derek Love. These 3 cars all about 0.2 of a second apart. As Derek Love is looking to get 4th place back on Brian Elmore. So we are now under 30 laps remaining in this one. Love almost into the left rear tire of that number 9 car. No contact there, but they are getting very, very racy. Derek Love almost into the wall once again. Sign on checking in the comments. Checking in. Asking new running order graphics, or is that just for this week? Nope. Chris Graham has stepped out for the week. I am taking over. My graphics package is just a touch different than his, which is why you see a little bit of the difference. Gon Sovereign checking in, saying, happy ream noises. Go Batista. Clearly a Josh Batista fan in the field. Zach Evans asking for a medic after going up and over during our first and only caution of the event so far. Sign on also checking in regards to that crash. And no, James Watson's in the wall. It'll be side by side now. Oh man, Derek Love getting tagged. The number 9 car of Elmore somehow saves it. Maybe not. He's up and over on his side. Hasn't spun it around yet, and there it is. That looks like it's going to be our 2nd caution. Nope, we stay green so far. No caution yet for that incident. Not sure we're going to get one. James Watson somehow managing to hang on to that 2nd position. And why don't we welcome Zach Evans into the booth? Zach, obviously you were a competitor in this race. Unfortunately, a dizzying visit to the infield care center. How are you feeling after that one?
Not great. It was a pretty wild ride. It's been a while since I've had a wreck like that in the Crown car, but not really much you can do there. Obviously, Scott Nicky just got into the wall a little bit, and I tried to get slowed down in time to keep from running over him, but just didn't get slowed down in time, and the rest was history.
Yeah, these guys still racing incredibly hard. A little bit of contact there between Larry Pace and the number 1 machine and Derek Love and the number 2 car. I think that's the only thing saving Watson right now is these guys are battling as hard as they can.
For sure, and it's so hard to make a pass, honestly. With it, they're pretty close, especially in 1 and 2. Maybe not now that they've worn off the tires, but early in the run, it was pretty close to flat out in 1 and 2. So it's so hard to build up that run to get alongside somebody. And at that point, once you are side by side, you're hanging on for dear life in the corner. So it's white knuckle stuff out there.
Yeah, speaking of side by side, Larry Pace is currently side by side with James Watson as they went through turns 3 and 4 there. They're going to try it again in turns 1 and 2. Derek Love going to try and capitalize as well, looking to the bottom side. All 3 of these cars are squirrely as heck going out of turn number 2.
Man, this is, I mean, some of the best on the oval side of iRacing, racing the Silver Crown Series, and that's why it takes some real skill to manage these cars when they're out of shape like that and not get into your fellow competitor.
Yeah, all 3 of them were kind of sawing at the wheel trying to keep it pointed in the right direction. James Watson tagging the wall once again, Derek Love backing out of it to avoid running into Watson.
And look, a couple of these guys probably have damage from their brushes with the wall or contact with other cars that we've seen earlier on. So you already know they're fighting ill-handling race cars. Just that little bit of damage can have such a huge impact at these high-speed, speedway-type tracks for these cars. And so you've got that, you've got the tires wearing out, the fuel burning off. These guys are doing all they can to just make laps at this point.
Yeah, these aren't like the stock cars that normally race here that can take a little bit of a beating on the right side. These are open-wheel machines. They might not look like Formula One cars or Indy cars, but they're built just about the same way. The wheels can be easily hit into the wall. The side work, the body work is not built to survive a beating like a stock car is.
No, for sure. And those side pods, they're so aero-sensitive, and especially you wrinkle up the right front, it can, and there we see James Watson get into the wall a little bit.
Once again, and Derek Love is now going to swap positions with James Watson. That moves Derek up into the 4th position.
I was just saying, you lose that right front with the damage, and it makes it so tight, especially on corner exit, and that's pretty much what we saw from James there on the exit of turn 2.
Yeah, very easy to just get the car and push up. That's why the Darlington stripe is so famous. It's just the car pushes up, it gets sucked into that wall, and you can't do really anything about it.
It's a pretty helpless feeling for sure.
Thomas Lewandowski putting an absolute showing out there. It's the school of Lewandowski tonight with only 16 laps remaining. He's got almost a 5-second gap over Brandon Buchberger. Buchberger really needing a caution if he wants to get anything done tonight. He has a 2-second gap to Larry Pace, so it's going to be another very safe second position finish for Buchberger. But that's got to be so frustrating to know you're getting seconds, doing really good, but you just can't stand on that top step of the podium.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's been frustrating because obviously he's been fast all season. One of the best out here. That's why he's got that number 4 on the side, at least on the scoring pylon. Yes, he does run the iRacing number. So, that's, to have one of those single-digit numbers at a field like this shows you're pretty good. And obviously he's had a great season, but like you say, just hasn't been able to find that extra little bit.
Yeah, Brandon Buchberger, his iRating is a 59.69. So not the highest in the field. That goes to Larry Pace with an 83.78. But still, having almost the 6,000 iRating here on the iRacing platform is almost unheard of. I only know of a handful of drivers that I personally know that are over maybe 2,000 or 3,000. So definitely one of the top class drivers on the service.
So I was car 13 in this race. I'm just shy of 3,000. I'm somewhere in the 28 or 29 range. And obviously I'm going to lose a few tonight, but...
Yes, it will be a donation night for you. You'll be giving some of those points here to Brandon Buchberger. Maybe a couple of Thomas Lewandowski, so... Definitely not a great night for you, but you did come out here and give us another car in the grid, and frankly gave us a hell of a show to watch when you went and did some somersaults down the back straightaway.
I think the last one I had that spectacular was a couple of years ago at Iowa, back when I was still streaming. And I flipped so long in that wreck, I started taking a sip of my Coca-Cola mid-crash.
There you go. That's like the old DW12s when they used to dance.
Oh gosh, yes.
So if you haven't been on iRacing for a while, about 3 or 4 years ago, before they updated the damage model with the older IndyCar, when you would crash, if you hit it just right, it would spin like a top. Not for a couple seconds.
Forever.
For minutes. Yeah, it would go on. A lot of times you just have to Alt F4 out of the service, just completely close the program down.
Because you can't tow because the car's not stationary.
Yeah, it was fun and a novelty all the way until I got a VR headset and had that happen to me for the first time.
I'm getting nauseous just thinking about that.
We do have a battle going on for the 6th position right now. That's going to be between the 5 car of Colton Tindall and the 6 car of Jeffrey Stanton. Maybe not anymore. Stanton getting into that outside wall. Still able to hold it together, though. Even has a run now on that number 5 machine.
I don't know how Jeffrey missed me when I went for my little aerial routine in 3 and 4.
He didn't. He smacked you.
Oh, okay.
That is not where that damage on the left front came from, though. He hit you at the right front quarter of the car that appears undamaged. He barely brushed the tire of another car, and that caused the left front to crumple there. So, very interesting how these cars get damaged.
For sure. And speaking of, along those same lines, earlier in the race, I got a little out of shape and checked up in front of Mateus into 12, and when I looked at the replay, it didn't look like he got any damage at all from that, and I did a pretty good job of trying to punch in his nose accidentally.
Yeah, it's funny how resilient and weak these cars are at the same time. But Thomas Lewandowski losing a little bit of time now to Brandon Buchberger. The gap is now down to about 5.5 seconds. It was at 8 seconds just a couple of laps ago. Last lap for Lewandowski was a 27.603, and now he's gaining time on Buchberger once again. Buchberger's last lap was a 27.739, so about a 1/10 of a second slower than Lewandowski.
Yeah, for Thomas right now, you've just got to, think big picture. You've got a huge lead here. Get 5 laps to go next time by. Just bring it home. Just bring it home. Don't try to be a hero.
Hit the cruise control and just let it ride.
Absolutely. Get that trip to victory lane and get out of here.
Larry Pace in the 3rd position, trying to chase down Buchberger, has that gap to just under 1 second.
Larry took on that last to first challenge, so to speak, started at the rear of the field, and he might get an interview out of this deal when it's all said and done.
Yeah, very impressive drive by him. Definitely going to be the hard charger here tonight. And there's a reason he has that number 1 machine. I was almost wondering if he came from another series, maybe one of the stock car drivers just jumping over. And definitely the high I rating is definitely earned, deserved, and he's showing why he's that number 1 car tonight.
Yeah, we've started seeing him a little bit more into Silver Crown stuff. He's not somebody I've raced with a lot, but definitely very fast, and we see why he's got that number 1 on the nose.
So he now has the gap to Buchberger down to half a second with only 3 laps to go. I'm not sure if he's going to get close enough, but he's definitely in the territory where if Buchberger makes a mistake, he can capitalize. Buchberger now has to start playing defense and make sure he's on his A game and doesn't let Larry Pace by. We know he hates getting to 2nd place, but chances of winning this one are pretty much over unless we get a late race caution. So try and salvage your 2nd place finish.
And right now, Larry Pace is going to be getting right into that slipstream for Brandon Buchberger as well. He might gain a ton of time this lap. He needs to if he's got to have a shot on the last lap, but if he gets that toe down the backstretch here and gets a good run through 3 and 4, he's got to be right there.
Yep, as they come out of turn number 4, it's going to be the last lap. We'll see if he makes a move in the turn number 1 and pan the camera over to your leader, Thomas Lewandowski. Going to try looking high. Buchberger goes to defend. Does he come back down low to defend? Maybe. He's right there with the run. Can't take our eyes off of this one. They are side by side. Thomas Lewandowski going to cross the line in the first position. We have to keep our eyes here on this second place battle. Pace going to be side by side. Giving a drag race across the line. Buckberger able to hang on the second. Larry Pace with an incredible attempt at getting the second spot. James Watson going to come across the line in the fourth position, just ahead of Derek Love. That was also another drag race across the line.
Have you ever?
See if we can get another look at the battle for the fourth position. Watson barely able to edge out Derek Love. But now we have to take a look at our winner's vehicle. So it looks like he's already pulled it off of the racing surface. Why don't we get our drivers ready for the interviews? Or you're not my usual color guy. You can't pull people up to get ready for the interviews, can you?
Oh, you know what? I don't think I can. I cannot. I'm sorry. I don't have that kind of authority.
That is A-okay. So we will get our results up on the screen. Looks like Thomas Lewandowski is going to be your winner by far. The driver out of New York, winning by over 6 seconds. Brandon Buckberger coming home in second, just 42 thousandths of a second faster than Larry Pace coming out of Canada. He will be in the third position. Just to the south of Canada will be James Watson out of Ohio. In the fourth position, Derek Love finishing fifth in the number 2 machine, finishing second to James Watson. Colton Tyndall going to be in the sixth position, Jeffrey Stanton 7th, Laura Gerhardt 8th, Mateus Swank 9th, and Brent Elmore finishing in the 10th position, rounding out your top 10. In the 11th position will be the number 14 car of Joe Gauthier, finishing 1 full lap down. Zach Skotnicki finishing 22 laps down. The other driver out of New York, Brian Elmore, coming home in the 13th position. Brian Miller coming home in the 14th position. Josh Batista 15th. Zach Evans, unfortunately, a 16th place finish, but we'll give you an A for effort and definitely a 10 out of 10 for your barrel roll. And Jason Palmer, not looking like he's completing many of the laps tonight, only completing about 10 or 12 laps in the race. Not sure what happened to him. But why don't we drop you back down and we will get some of these other drivers up here for their interviews.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks for joining us in the booth after your tumble.
No problem.
And joining me in the booth now is going to be Larry Pace. Larry, what a fantastic run to finish that race out. Drag race across the line with Brandon Buckberger. You almost got him. Starting from the last position, making your way all the way up to the third position. Did you start from last for fun, or did you mean to do it, or was it just missed qualifying?
No, certainly did not mean to do it. I'm not the type of guy that starts at the back for fun. I just, try to do the best I can every race. And honestly, I just did not prepare enough going into qualifying, and I got tight and 0x the wall both laps, so made it super difficult on myself today.
You showed why you were that number 1 car, though, able to make your way all the way up to the third position. So a very, very fantastic run, and frankly, only 42,000 shy of finishing second. So definitely a great effort tonight.
I appreciate it. It was definitely fun. This is one of the best combos with this car, and I knew it was going to be really difficult coming from the back to have anything for Tom. I didn't even think I'd get to Brandon, honestly, so I was kind of pleasantly surprised I even got there in the first place.
Hell yeah. Well, do you plan on joining us here for the next season coming up in 2 weeks?
Not the full season. I kind of just cherry pick races that are fun combos for me. Tom, I got to say, too, a Thomas Lewandowski setup, there's literally nothing better. I mean, this thing was a rocket ship. It was so fucking easy. Sorry, so friggin' easy to drive.
And demonetized.
Sorry about that.
You're good.
But yeah, Thomas Lewandowski built some incredible setups for this car, and yeah, I'm just lucky enough to, whenever I want to pop into one, he's kind enough to lend one to me.
Hell yeah. Well, showing he knows how to build the setup, showing you know how to drive. Clearly he knows how to drive. He won the race tonight, so fantastic showing out of you guys, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon in the next race you choose to drop into.
Absolutely. We'll see you then.
Hell yeah, thanks for coming. Next up, we will bring in your second place finisher, Brandon Buckberger. Unfortunately, not getting the win here this season, but a fantastic drag race here tonight. You did win the drag race and came home in the second position.
Yeah. Second place run with a third place car. I really can't complain. I didn't have anything for Thomas. He was just too quick. About 10th and a half of me a lap. He was much better than 3 and 4. I was just too tight.
Yeah, it did seem like you had a very tight race car. Some close calls when you, Love, and Watson were battling earlier on in the race. All three of you guys at one point, I thought you all hit the wall and then started sliding. I couldn't believe you all saved it. But a fantastic run here tonight. I think this is the happiest we've ever heard you after a second place finish. You seem content with this one.
Yeah, I had nothing for Thomas. I had about a probably third, fourth place car, and I got second, so I really can't complain. And Darlington's really not one of my best tracks, so I'm happy with it. Congrats to Thomas, and then Derek on the championship. He probably smoked everyone by like 200 points because he won almost every week. But I'll take a second. I mean, it's a good run, so I can't really complain.
Hell yeah, well, I think this being the last race of the season, that means Chris Graham's got to pay $50 to a charity of your choice. Do you want to name that charity, or do you want to wait and talk it over with him?
It's going to go to Driven to Save Lives, so we kind of talked about that before. It was always going to go to them. It just mattered who the money was coming from, but I kind of knew when we made that bet that I wasn't going to win it because I just didn't have much luck on my side this season, but it's starting to turn around a little bit here. So I don't know. We'll see what next season brings, but who knows?
Getting very consistent with the seconds. That means the only place to go is you got one spot left to get on that top step of the podium. So hopefully we see you get it here next season. Hopefully you plan on joining us for the next season.
I was going to hang it up for a season or two, but I got a bunch of my buddies that are starting to watch every week. I think Madison's watching, Nate, Swayze, Bob, and Scotty at Dienst Farms. So good run, but Dienst Farms car will eventually get a win here.
Oh yeah, well you got a ton of momentum behind you. Hopefully it carries over to the next season. Thank you for joining us all season long. This has been an absolute blast, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
Yeah, you will.
Thank you very much. And finally, we bring in your winner, Thomas Lewandowski, putting an absolute school on the field tonight. At one point, you were 8 seconds ahead of Buckberger in second place, winning by about 5 or 6 seconds. Did you have nitrous in the car? Did you bolt up a turbo while no one was looking?
No, it was just a great driving car. I've ran feel pretty good here in the past, and I just always kind of make sure to set the car up for a long run. Because you got to get the balance right, especially through 3 and 4 to be really quick here, and it just paid off.
Yeah, Larry Pace was thanking you for the setup, talking about how good it was. He started in the last position, made his way all the way up to the third position, and said it was because of the setup. So clearly you know what you're doing putting these cars together, and it shows. You've put an absolute school on the field tonight.
I try. A lot of experience. It helps a lot. It makes it a lot easier. But Larry's a good friend, and he appreciates it. The setups and everything, and I was just happy to see him, almost get second there. I was looking at the standings, but I guess he came just close, really close to getting second. But
yeah, 42 thousandths of a second shy. Can't get much closer than that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, he's just pretty darn close, especially for only having one caution in that race and I think he started that last, so that's always a tough thing to do.
Oh yeah, well, this being the last race of the season, do you plan on joining us again for next season, or taking a break from the crowns, or what's the ideas?
Oh no, I'll be back for next season for sure. Hopefully you guys are back broadcasting, and since the end of the season, just want to say thanks again for broadcasting these, and anyone that runs these cars, consider donating on PayPal to them for all the exposure they give us and the great job they do. And if the holiday season coming up, I'm sure every little extra is always needed around these times.
Hell yeah, thank you very much for the kind words, and thank you for coming out here, putting an absolute showing each and every week. either you go out there and you dominate, or you give us a great battle to go and watch between you and some of the other leaders in the field. So thank you for giving us something to actually broadcast that's entertaining.
Yeah, I always try to put on the show, so doesn't always work out, but at least got to make it entertaining.
Oh yeah, well, any sponsor plugs, thank yous, want to get in before we let you go?
Just to thank everyone over at the Drill Owl, Larry, John, Marcus, all those guys, help out and support me whenever I'm racing. So it's always great. And once again, just thanks to you guys for broadcasting these. And belated, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. I forgot, but hope everyone had a good holiday and is safe.
Yeah, Thanksgiving just ending. We're kicking off the holiday season, getting ready for all of the various holidays that take place in the month of December. So if we don't see you before some of them, happy whatever you celebrate, and hopefully we're back again next season. That is the plan so far. I'm thinking. So we'll be back again, putting on some great racing.
Glad to hear it. Thanks again.
Oh yeah. So a fantastic show here tonight at Darlington. Thomas Lewandowski absolutely running away with the race. Great battles going on for the second and fourth places as we approach the last lap of this race. So huge thank you to everyone for tuning in and watching this season. It's been an absolute pleasure to display these Silver Crown cars. And plan is to do it again next season because we love these things. They give us something great to talk about on our Monday nights. And you can't beat old school open wheel racing at big super speedways. So there'll be more racing action here on the NASCAR Race Network tomorrow night. I believe it is an off week for the TNT series. Should be some testing going on, maybe some testing for the special event. So if you want to get yourself down on the TNT server, it is discord.gg/TNT Racing. Get yourself in here. We're doing some soda and a smile towards the middle of December 16th. That'll be the IR01, the DW12, or IR18, the PM18, and the Silver Crown featured here today at the iRacing Super Speedway. An absolute blast that event is. I believe this will be the 4th year we're putting it on now. Following that, on Wednesday night, will be the Sim Racers Club. As usual, Thursday night, we'll have the final event for the season for the U.S. Open Wheel cars, and that will conclude this season of iRacing action. The next week will be week 13, so not much action to show you, and then we get right back into it again with our normal schedule. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great night, everyone.